One of the Democratic Party's top recruits for the 2026 midterm elections is Democratic governor or former governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, says he is seriously considering a 2026 Senate run against Republican incumbent Thom Tillis. Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going over firstly this article by the National Review, which gives us the latest news and information about former Governor Roy Cooper's potential 2026 run, as well as some election results from past few elections, just to give you an idea of where this race begins. The article begins by saying, a few weeks after leaving office as a two-term chief executive of a purple state, former Democratic Governor Roy Cooper is still weighing a run for GOP Senator Thom Tillis' Senate seat in 2026. Cooper is in communication with the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, Senate Democrats' campaign arm, and is, quote, very aware that they are interested in recruiting him for the upcoming cycle. A source close to Cooper confirms the National Review. The Senate folks have reached out and said, whatever you need from us, we're more than happy to provide, the source said, while cautioning that after 8 years as governor, Cooper is taking some time to decompress before making any big decisions about his political future. He is definitely going to consider the race, but just has not made any decisions yet, and it'll be a little bit before he does. The 67-year-old former Attorney General is a veteran of North Carolina's state legislature and has long been considered a possible candidate for the 2026 Senate seat or for the White House in 2028. He has never lost an election and is seen as an especially formidable purple state Senate recruit in a 2026 cycle with a few pickup opportunities for Democrats. A 2026 Senate run by Cooper would present a major electoral challenge for Tillis, who is expected to attract a tough primary and general election competition next cycle. Cooper hasn't shied away from public speculation about his future political plans, telling the New York Times in December that he's in no rush to announce what's next. I just want to take some time with my family and then make a decision, he told the Times. It's hard for me to believe that I won't want to do something to continue adding to the woodpile, and I look forward to that. And this article is by Audrey Fahlberg, a politics reporter for National Review. So, in terms of the 2026 midterm elections, this is very, very big news. And as the article mentions, I'm going to show you the map here. North Carolina, this is going to be incumbent Republican Senator Thom Tillis. And he was first elected back in 2014, defeating the Democratic incumbent senator in a very, very close race. He then ran again for re-election in 2020 and once again won a very, very close race. North Carolina is a very interesting state because it almost has like three different types of election trends. Whereas the presidential level, and I'll show you here, North Carolina is very much like a lean to tilt Republican state. So in 2024, Donald Trump won the state of North Carolina by about 3%, which is more than 1 and under 5, which would characterize it in my rankings as lean Republican. If we want to look at 2020, Donald Trump defeated Joe Biden in North Carolina 49.9% to 48.6%. This would be 1.3, which would still be a lean Republican state. And in 2016, Donald Trump won the state 49.8% to 46.2, a 3.6% win, once again a lean Republican state. So at the presidential level, North Carolina remains to be close, but is almost always going to be a lean Republican state based on the last 3 elections. The Senate and the governor's maps, though, are a little bit different. The Senate and governor's maps are a lot more competitive, and I'll show you here. In 2022, actually, let's do the Senate first. In 2022, Ted Budd, the Republican, won his Senate race by 3.2%. Again, another lean Republican ranking. But let's go back to 2020. Here, Thom Tillis won his election against the Democrat Cal Cunningham by 1.7%. Very, very close, but again, lean Republican. Now we can go back to 2016, when the Republican incumbent at the time, Richard Burr, was up for re-election. He won by 5.7%. This would narrowly be a likely Republican win. And to show you the first time Thom Tillis won, he won the race by 1.6%. So at the Senate level, there's a pretty strong history of North Carolina, like the presidential race, being a lean Republican state. But the governor's race is where things get a little bit more interesting. And so I'll show you the past ones first, and then I'll get to the one that just happened. In 2020, Roy Cooper was re-elected governor of North Carolina, again, on the same ballot when Donald Trump won the state by, 1.3%. Roy Cooper won by 4.5%. So he won North Carolina in a lean Democratic ranking. In 2016, Roy Cooper was able to defeat Republican incumbent Governor Pat McCrory by 0.22% in an incredibly close race. So Cooper has a track record of winning very close races in North Carolina. I would say North Carolina, overall, I get the sentiment that North Carolina is a swing state because how close these results have been, but the history and track record in the recent elections for North Carolina suggests it is a lean Republican state, not really a pure toss-up state. But when Roy Cooper's on the ballot, it shows, if anything, 2016 showed it was a toss-up, 2020 showed it as a lean Democratic seat. So now, 2026, you're starting to see the makings of why this is going to be such a close race. And I did want to address this before moving on to 2026. Obviously, this is going to be the 2024 governor's race, where the Democratic Attorney General Josh Stein defeated Republican Mark Robinson 55% to 40%, a 15-point win. Democrats will see this and feel a lot of optimism, I'm sure, but I really think this is a special case because obviously Mark Robinson's scandals heavily derailed his candidacy. It is possible, had that not happened to Robinson, that Josh Stein still would have won this race, but it probably would have been similar to the 2020 numbers of a 3 to 4 point win than a 15-point win. So I did just want to address that before moving on. But now to the main topic of the video, obviously North Carolina in 2026. Right now, it's Thom Tillis, the incumbent U.S. Senator, and as the article mentioned, there is the potential he could face off against a Republican challenger, likely from the more MAGA side of the Republican Party. The highest name person recognition I've heard is Laura Trump. She'd probably be the most formidable challenger to Tillis. If she decides not to run for this race, I think Tillis is pretty much safe and will win the primary. And I see Tillis already has a lot of endorsements from a lot of his fellow senators as well. As I think many of them know, Tillis is going to be in for a tough re-election fight. On the Democratic side of things, Willie Nickel, the former U.S. representative of North Carolina's 13th district, he has expressed interest in running for this race as well. And regardless of Roy Cooper's decision, may decide to run as well. He would not be a bad Democratic candidate going after Tillis. He'd probably be pretty formidable. But I think Roy Cooper, of the two, is certainly the more formidable candidate. As for the predictions itself for this race, right now, Wikipedia, or Inside Elections on the Wikipedia site, lists it as a battleground. 270 to win has it as a toss-up, and I completely agree. As I mentioned, is that what I've been setting up for this video is, when you look at North Carolina, it's really interesting because at the presidential level and the Senate level, it's been a close state, you could say a battleground state, but it's consistently voted lean Republican. When Roy Cooper's been on the ballot for the two governor's races, it is consistently voted either tilt Democrat or lean Democrat. So you're kind of getting like a unstoppable force and an immovable object, with North Carolina being a lean Republican seat or state overall, and then Roy Cooper being a lean Democratic candidate. So what does that mean? Well, that means we're going to get a very close Senate race in North Carolina. And this is where things need to be a little bit worrisome for the Republicans. I don't know if you noticed when I showed you Thom Tillis' races and how he did, but in 2020, when Tillis won re-election, he won with 48.69%, which is under 50. The Democrat only got 46.94%, and a third-party Libertarian candidate, or I believe Libertarian, but I know for sure a third-party candidate and another third-party candidate combined for about 4%. So Tillis won a plurality of the vote and won the election, which is fine, but Roy Cooper is going to have higher name recognition than the Democrat who ran before, which is going to better the Democrats' chances of winning. Now let's go back to 2014. When Tillis first won against the Democratic incumbent, Tillis once again got 48.82%, and the incumbent, got 47.26%. Again, the third-party candidate got 3.74%, another plurality win for Tillis. So at very least, you have to be a little bit concerned Tillis has not broken 50%, even in 2020 when he was the incumbent. The good news and bad news for Tillis is that he'll be up in 2026, a midterm election, where the Democrats are supposed to actually be favored and have a very good night based on the Republicans controlling the White House and all three branches, and the Senate and the House as well. So that should benefit the Democrats, and Tillis is yet to break 50%. This doesn't mean Tillis can't have a good night and break 50% against Roy Cooper, but at very least, Tillis getting 48 to 49% probably won't be enough, or will very barely be enough in 2026. So this race is going to be very fascinating to watch. The question will be, does North Carolina want to elect a Democratic senator against a Republican senator? And depending on how good the night is, we could very well see North Carolina being a tilt Democratic seat. And I do think if Roy Cooper wins, I think the perfect race to look back on and say, well, how did he do it, is going to be the 2016 governor's race where he narrowly defeated Pat McCrory. And if you notice here, Cooper got 49%, McCrory got 48.8%, and Cooper was just barely able to squeak by and win this race. And I do think if Cooper does win in 2026, this will be exactly how he did it. And overall, it comes down to, again, the Republican candidate's inability to break that 49-50% threshold that Tillis so far has had problems doing. Now, by no means am I saying the writing's on the wall and Tillis is going to lose this race automatically. I do think this race is going to be very, very close, and it's going to come down to likely a few thousands of votes to decide it. But if it is Roy Cooper versus Thom Tillis, the Trump administration is probably going to be doing really well for Tillis to have a good chance of winning. Tillis can still win this race, but given the track record of him being under 49% in both of his re-election bids and some displeasure from many Republicans in the state, on top of 2026 being a Democratic midterm year, it does bode well for the Democrats' chances at flipping North Carolina. I'm not going to do that in this video today and say for sure it will flip blue, but at very least, North Carolina is probably one of the best pickup opportunities the Democrats have in 2026, and I think the Republicans know that, and that's why they're going to be throwing in a lot of money to try and help Tillis in North Carolina. But this race is going to come down to the wire, and the news about Roy Cooper seriously considering this race probably only makes the Republicans even more nervous about their chances at keeping this seat red. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like and click subscribe, and I hope to see you in a future video. That will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a like. And if you really liked it, please remember to click the subscribe button. And make sure you turn post notifications on so you always get notified when I post a new video. That way you never miss one. Also, please remember to share this video with your friends and family if you really like the video. And remember to stay tuned because I'll be posting at least one video every single day leading up until Election Day, so I'd really appreciate it if you keep coming back and watching those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.